Thank you. If you were reading the bulletin this week, you saw that the title of the talk that I was planning to give was about the meaning of life. And, you know, I thought about it all week and I still haven't figured out what is the meaning of life. But in, you know, in seriousness, we are an inquisitive breed of animal. Even before we became human beings, we were pondering the nighttime sky, looking at all the stars, and figuring out our place in creation. I read recently that some of the archaeologists were doing some excavations, and they found fossils of type of animal which, you know, was not yet human. It was one of those precursors to Homo sapiens being evolved. And associated with the skeleton, they recognized it as a burial with gifts, with like items they would have used, a knife and or you know, sticks that were clearly manipulated. And the archaeologists are suggesting that these were no doubt gifts that were placed along with the remains of a person, of an animal that had died. So indicating that this might be objects they would need wherever they're going next. And I found that just amazing, that for as long as, even before we were humans, we were thinking about afterlife. We were thinking about continuity and a continuing need for things. It just shows that we are curious about our place in creation, and thinking about such matters. You know, we try to solve problems, we try to find patterns. I mentioned the night sky. I'm sure as they watched the change of the constellations, the change in the sky, they recognized that, okay, that one we associate with the summertime, it is going away. And here come the winter months, we best prepare. I'm sure that early on we began to figure out not just the pattern of things, but you know, how to solve problems. And so we are inquisitive and wanting to look for patterns, looking for solutions, looking for, you know, ways that to live. You know, and all of this, you know, led us to come up with stories that tell ourselves about why things are the way they are. In ancient times, they imagined that there were spirits that operated as gods and goddesses, and they would fight among themselves, you know, just like we fight among ourselves down here, and that was the cause for this and that. But you know, in the end, we've moved beyond all of this, and we're still looking for meaning. We're still looking for purpose. We're still seeking some type of guide for ourselves as we go through our lives and as we interact with each other and as we contemplate our mortality. To be frank, we recognize that we have only a limited amount of time here on planet Earth, and that we seek to create for ourselves something that will help guide us, something that will give it meaning. If we were to ask, what's the meaning of life, you may as well say, what's the meaning of that lake? What's the meaning of that sky? What's the meaning of this chair? It simply is. It doesn't need to have a meaning. It doesn't need to have a purpose. Those are things that we create to help us understand ourselves and our relationship to those things. And I would believe that even as we contemplate the meaning of life, we try to find what is our connection to each other and to the world. I had a patient at the hospital. I can't use his real name, obviously, but he and his wife lived about an hour's drive north of Truckee, in a small hamlet, really a small grouping of homes. He and his wife worked from their home, but it was clear that things were not going well. I say that because this man was on hospice services, that he had a disease which quite honestly is so rare, only 1 in a million people will ever get it. And he was the one. And it was tragic, a tragic situation, that he knew he was going to die, and there's no cure, and there's no surviving, and he was facing his own mortality. His wife was doing her best to, keep spirits up, but he was in despair, truly was. And so they asked if I would come out and sit and talk with them and help them come to grips with what is the reality. This type of disease, it has a big long name, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, and it is a type of disease that leads to the brain breaking down physically until it's like a sponge with spaces inside of it. And it's painful, and it's terrible in every way you could imagine. So when I came to their home, they invited me in and sat me in a chair facing the husband, who had already progressed to the point where he couldn't stand up. He was, sitting in a easy chair. He had to be fed. He had to be changed. It was slipping away. It was heavy. Excuse me. And the wife was very, very polite, and offered me coffee and come and sit. And, but as we started talking, it became clear that there was tension in the room, tension between them, as part of this man's disease progression. His ability to put together words and sentences was compromised. That he didn't understand, why his wife was doing so many things, and why she was always tired, and he was unable to see things from her point of view. So he just couldn't understand why she was upset. Make a long story short, she excused herself early on, and I had myself one-on-one with this man. And he made it clear that he knew that his time was short. But he was asking, like, why? Why did I get this disease? And I had to explain that there is no why. We don't know how it comes about. There is no treatment for it. There is no cure for it. It's a bit like someone being struck by lightning, or if you can imagine a meteor coming to Earth and crushing your house with you in it. It's not something you did. It was just the fact that we are here in this physical realm, and things happen that you had no part in creating. And he struggled with that. He was of the opinion that because of something that he had done as a teenager, that God was punishing him now. And I let him, get it out, and I, didn't try and. I should say, I didn't want to confront him. I said, to say something like that's ridiculous, but I knew that would only build up a defense on his part. But I let him finish his story. And I said, do you really think that God would punish you now for something you did as a teenager? Wouldn't God have punished you if God was going to punish you? Wouldn't God punish you then so you could learn from that experience? And yet I watched him kind of look away and look at the ceiling. Yeah, that does seem to make sense. Well, could it be that there was really no connection for why you came down with this? It was that it was just a part of nature. Yeah, well, I suppose that could be so. Why don't you think about it some, and we'll talk more next time. So in about a week, I went back, and I asked, have you been thinking about our conversation? Yeah. In fact, now I get it. Now I get it. That it's not about my action. It's about, simply, pardon my French, shit happens. And he was much relieved, I guess, best way to describe it, because he was believing that because of what he did when he was 17, that he was going to hell over it. And now he realizes that, okay, that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of times when I'm seeing patients or their families, and sometimes even the doctors and nurses, as they come to grips with difficult experiences. Yeah, just this past week, literally Monday passed, a patient who was 95 years old and was on oxygen came in to the hospital with shortness of breath. And turns out that he had a condition that was, again, very challenging to deal with, not just for him, but for his family. And so the doctor, who is a friend of mine and a very compassionate and loving man, sat next to his bed and said to him, what is it you want us to do? It would be a long process to try to find out what's wrong, to find out the source of all this. There'll be tests and procedures and all kinds of things that are just uncomfortable to go through, and there's no guarantee of there being a cure. And I'm normally a part of that conversation when the doctor has it. And the man looked up from the bed and he said, "Oh, I've had enough. I'll be honest, I've had enough. Why don't we... Let me think about it, and we'll decide. We'll decide later on." No, I missed the second conversation that they had, but it was clear that that he was ready to say, "Okay, I've had a wonderful life. I've missed out on nothing, and it really doesn't seem to be a point in pushing on now." I saw the doctor when he came out of the room following that conversation, and there were tears running down his face. That he knew that this man was ready. It was later on that day that they had turned off the oxygen, and he slipped away quietly, surrounded by his family, at peace with his decision. And as I looked across the faces of his wife and children and grandchildren, and I saw that he had clearly been a good man, was loved, would be missed. And he had made his life full of meaning. Yeah. Yeah, meaning is it's a challenging thing. Challenging, especially as we approach our senior years, as we stop and consider what we've done in our lives and what we want in our future. To have those kinds of thoughts are natural. It is very common to have these things. Pardon me, there's somebody walking around outside, it looks like. Okay. Yeah.
No, just ignore them.
Yeah. Forgive me. Finding meaning in involves knowing your values, knowing what goals you may have created. I'm sorry, this is just distracting to have voices behind me here. So, forgive. That doesn't happen very often. Thank goodness for that. Yes, yeah, that's right. So that's a proof in principle there. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I feel like I was rambling. So anyway, when we have our meaning, it is. Excuse me. I believe it's important to have meaning, to know what we're doing and why. Thinking through all possible ways to be using the time that we do have. I was thinking about this in connection with myself and my own calling to help others in a hospital setting, in the hospice setting. And that would be bringing forth the talents I've been given to try and spread love and comfort for those who are in need of it as they go through their life experience. I got to be honest with you all here and at home. Please forgive me. This distraction has really thrown me off balance here. So I'd like to not just apologize, but say, would you have any questions associated with my work? Any?
I'm sure that every situation is so different, and depending on what that person is going through, what their beliefs are, and it's, I don't know if you always get completion with them, or a happy ending, or all of that. Does that seem to affect you personally?
Well, I do serve all people of all faith traditions, or no faith tradition at all. Yet I find that within every person, there is, even if it's only a small amount, but a spark of desire for connection with something larger than themselves. Mm-hmm. Many people find that as a member of a church community or other spiritual community. I can't think of a single one that didn't deserve to be heard and cared for. I find that love is the universal theme for everyone I've met. And the value of love for each other is what is behind my work. It is to help them find that spark, that connection, that love. So no, I don't let it get to me. I recognize that not everyone is ready to have that talk or to explore that topic with me. They may be wanting to keep it to themselves, keep it private. But I've never been thrown out of a room. Asked to leave, yes, but I don't take it personally. Yeah.
I think what I hear you saying is that people just want to be heard. They want someone there just to listen, not to answer their questions or try to solve things, but just to show their love and their compassion with others.
Yeah, that is so very true. In fact, many times people will have some preconceived idea about my role, even before, I get my name out. I don't want a sermon. I don't want prayer. I don't want this. I'm like, yes, I'm here to listen. I'm here to listen and to. I might ask a question about what you're telling me, but you won't get a sermon out of me, unless, of course, you want one. No one's taken me up on the offer yet. But it's it's a delight to sit and have a heart-to-heart when someone is open to having that, to learn about them, not just on the outside but on the inside as well, and to see that we have so much in common. Yeah. Others? No. Well, there's news from the chaplain side at Tahoe Forest, where I work, and it was rooted in an experience going back about 3 months now, when I heard there was somebody nearing the end there at the hospital. I went up to see what I could do, but quickly learned that this person had slipped into a coma type of situation, not responsive at all. But yet, as I looked around, there was nobody else in the room. No friends, no family. And I started asking questions of the nurse. Where is everyone? And a male nurse confided, there is no everyone. This man has 2 daughters. The older daughter is on her honeymoon. We've called her and she's on her way. But the other daughter, younger, is here in town somewhere, and we have no way of getting in touch with her. So, for me, somebody nearing the end alone is kind of sad. It's a sad experience. So I took it on myself to sit in a chair next to a patient, holding hands and saying, "You're not alone. I won't leave you. I am here for you. Everything's going to be okay." Not getting any type of reaction at all, but I prayed that the words got through. And it was peaceful. I said prayer for this person, that they would pass peacefully, without pain, without any other type of challenge. I prayed that the daughters would get there in time. But after about an hour, he slipped away. He was gone. And I thought about the heartbreak that the daughters were going to experience when they learned that their father was gone. But I also thought to myself, what if I hadn't shown up? What if I hadn't come in at that time to be with him. We need to have a way of dealing with this so it's not up to chance. So I started doing a little homework called chaplains that I know well to ask, what do you do in situations like this? And one actually said, well, we have a cadre of volunteers who'll come and sit with those who have no friends or family. They call it No One Dies Alone. Yeah. And it turns out that this was an idea created by a nurse in Oregon back in the early 2000s. And that she had that same type of experience of going in and finding no friends, no family, and then decided to establish this volunteer program. And then it went to another place. The idea spread, all, without any structure, without any leadership. It was just, people telling people, to the point where, there were 400 hospitals estimated to be doing this volunteer program. So I thought to myself, we should try that. We should have that here. But I didn't want to step on toes. I didn't want to create an impression that our doctors and nurses were not doing their job. This was about providing some compassionate companionship. I know that doctors and nurses have lots of patients, lots of responsibilities. This would relieve them of having to come and sit in with a person who was dying. So I talked to some doctors and nurses to ask, what do you think of this? Oh, that's a great idea. We should have that. Yes, we need to have this. And so I started talking to the leadership at the hospital. Yes, we need to have this. And it was the experience of getting yeses at every stop along the way. It's almost like driving down the road and the lights keep turning green. It's like, maybe there's something behind this. Is the hand of God involved in this? Anyway, well, we got it now. Yes, I put out the word among our existing volunteers, and we have 8 people who have all agreed to come spend an hour or 2 or 3, depending upon their availability, when we have this type of situation. And it's something that I feel that my curiosity and the initiative I took to set it up, to get the volunteers, to do the training, to make all the arrangements, was my being led to establish something new. Yeah. It's just not me. Okay.
Thank you for your share, Rick. I have a brother who is 73 and has been diagnosed with lung cancer. It's gone into his liver, and then he got pneumonia. And he's now in a care facility, and no chemo he's not going to do chemo or anything. And he's expected to live for maybe 4 months. And he lives in Reading. And I'm really trying to find ways that I can love and support him and be there for him. And so, with a lot of compassion and understanding and empathy and, you know, and help him in a way that he's not afraid. So maybe you could help me with that.
It is the biggest fear a person could have of losing their life, of losing their connection, of knowing that where they're going, they're not coming back. So it's heartbreaking.
Does anyone on Zoom might have a question?
They do, but I wanted to answer Diane's question. But first, just letting him know that there's nothing to fear. You know, it's like going to sleep, and that he should feel free to go when he's ready. Yeah. Yeah. There is a law in the state of California for those who are with a disease that is, or injury that's going to be taking their lives within 6 months, as determined by a doctor coming out and checking, where they can choose their timing. Yeah, medical assistance in dying is what it's called. And your brother is entitled to that if he wants to. If he wants to. But he has to have a doctor who's willing to be there to do the exam and to ask the questions. But that is something that, you know, is in California law. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody on Zoom have a question for us? Okay. Well, I apologize for this non-conventional talk.
It was nice.
Yeah, yeah,
The back and forth was lovely.
yeah. Okay. Well, with that, let's go to prayer. We are living embodiments of God here on earth. God is within us. God is moving through us. God, in fact, uses us to carry out acts of love and compassion and charity here on earth. He speaks to us with that still small voice whispering in our ear, guiding us if we just stop and listen. Our intuition pushes us into doing things which we might not even think to do. But yet the love of God is here and now and present, always available. I thank God for using me in the work that I do each and every day, bringing forth love into this world. It's God's love. I'm simply the distributor. So I give great thanks for all the people who are ready to help, ready to talk, ready to love. And so it is.